I bet I drill a clean hole in somebody today.
At the start of this video, I want to do something that I've never done before. I want to set a goal. We're so close to 30,000 subscribers. Everyone smash that subscribe button and let's see if we can immediately hit 29,000 subscribers so we can start our final march to 30,000. This journey has been long, but it's not over yet. Season 2 is going to be great. And in this video, I will try to give the fastest summary of everything that was talked about in this over 2-hour and 30-minute Tekken Talk. I will try to show examples on screen for as many things that I'm talking about, but they talked about so many things here, it will be impossible to talk about everything. But let's start. First off, they announced a new Tekken board game. There was one person in the chat who plays board games and was really juiced about this. So if you do, there you go. They also announced that another update will be happening in May. So we have the season 2, which is at the start of April, but then they have another one scheduled for May. But then they also started talking about some TWT information. One of the biggest changes for the TWT is they created new rules for coaching. Coaching is now once per match and only for the loser, and it's a minute at max. Also, they said top 4 now is a best of 5 and a loser's semis is a first to 3. They did it this way because certain dojos out there are very limited in how much time they could get for the venue, and they didn't want to go to full on like first to 10 like Arsenal was saying on Twitter, so they're trying to meet a middle ground. Next, we'll talk about the character Anna. Something that I noticed immediately is that she does in fact has a 222. It's more akin to what Lydia does instead of Eddie, where Eddie has a screw and whatnot. Her 222 is basically just an overpowered string like Lydia, but it is a 222. They also talked about how you can hold forward to transition in her stance, kind of the same thing that Heihachi has and Lydia once more. There really is a lot of bleeding of all of these characters and they're so similar. Do a couple of hits, transition into a stance, do more hits. The difference with her though is that she doesn't, from what I could see, she didn't have a guard break, she didn't have some super overpowered power crush. They said that she specializes in 50-50 and she's also speed focused. This is something that we knew beforehand, and it makes sense that she's the 50-50 character. The other characters, Lydia, Heihachi, Eddie, are kind of the exceptions. They also finally explained the purple debuff, the little poison smoke. That ability adds chip damage. Even on block, if you block the attack, any move she does inflicts chip. So that is something that when we seen on the live stream, we were very upset about. But we'll have to see actually how it pans out, right? As soon as you hit her, the purple debuff goes away. Now she can inflict it once again. In Heat, she has a lot of more moves that does it. But once again, we'll have to see how the balancing pans out before we complain. They said her weaknesses are that she has unsafe low pokes, and then also her punishing is not the best. Her defense is terrible, but then for a lot of her mix-ups, you have to sidestep first. They kept talking about sidestep 2 and then do a lot of shenanigans. So that is Anna summarized as briefly as possible. Now for season 2, the first thing they talked about is that there is a new practice stage. A quick way to enter this is to use the touchpad and press up. For those of you who don't know, you can also do touchpad right and left to position yourselves at the wall very quickly, but you can also go into the settings and do this as well. They also expanded the practice options. There's a lot more information there. It would take too long to explain it all. So if you are a lab monster, when season 2 goes live, just take your time and look at everything because they have new Okazemi options, new punishment options, sidestepping options, a lot of stuff. It's great. Now, one of the most confusing changes that came out of this was the nerfing of key charging. Key charging is now nerfed and it doesn't inflict a counter hit anymore. Now all it does is have a damage buff, a slight damage buff, but one that's noticeable. And they were showing Harang during this situation, which means that the Harang key charge setups that was demonstrated in tournaments and online is the reason for this change. Now, it's a confusing change. I think it will greatly diminish what the key charge is all about. But once again, we'll have to see when the game goes live if this is a good change or not. They also made a great change, and while doing this, they showed Lydia and Jun Kazama. But there's situations in Tekken where your combo, you do your combo where you're slightly off axis and it drops. They fixed this issue to where your combos, when you're slightly off axis, your character should realign so you can do your combo. Now, they did emphasize that when you're heavily off axis, your combo will still drop. So this isn't something where you can hit them from the side and just do whatever you want. It's only slightly. Now, for specific characters, they talked about a couple. First is Azucena. She has a new move, which is a mid counter hit launcher. The only nerf that Azucena has gotten, this is confirmed by the developers, is that her power crush no longer is a heat engager, but everything else she got is in fact a buff. Looking at the gameplay, she looked really cool. I'll try to put as much of it on the screen while I'm yapping. Now for the character Devil Jin, he got buffed. Now, before I say anything more, I want to say that you guys asked for this. He has a lot of new properties, one of which is strings that gives new mix-ups. The biggest change from him, you know, Devil Jin's fly attack. He now has that fly attack, and it has a unblockable high from it. In heat, his Hell Sweep now launches. There are some other things that they changed with Devil Jin, where they increased his mix-up potential, they increased his poke game. They did a lot of crazy stuff with Devil Jin. We'll see how tournament viable he is. Now for Jun Kazama, they changed her Heat Smash. You know, the low Heat Smash? They changed that from a Heat Smash to a normal attack that only consumes heat. That's a weird change. I don't really understand it. When the game comes out, we'll be able to really test it. She also has this new installed property that gives her the ability to use 3 moves. Now, when I was watching, I didn't see them demonstrate those 3 new moves. The changes to her was to help her open up the opponent's defense. So I guess she struggled with that. Now, as for the character Zafina, they said that this character has changed the most out of any character. They buffed her in a way that focuses on Azazel power. She has this new long range mid tracking attack. It consumes a little bit of health. I don't know if it has any counter hit properties. They didn't dig that deep into the move, but it looks pretty strong just from looking at it. They also buffed the range on her forward 1+2 attack. This will also help her open up opponents as well. And then now her install has this big explosion. So after her mid long range attack, she can do the Azazel explosion and amplify it. So it has a second hit. On block, it gives a big push, and it gives her like the ability to do mix-ups. Really, a lot of her kit has been overhauled to incorporate this Azazel explosion. So you're really going to have to pay attention to those health bars when you're fighting against a lot of characters now. Jun Kazama, Zafina, we're seeing a trend here. Also, for the Zafina specialist, the Power Crush stomp on the ground is now safe. For the character King, this is the most controversial change out of all of them. The Armor Buster is nerfed. They added 10 more frames to it. And instead of taking reduced damage, he takes full damage. So basically, don't expect King players to be spamming this. Now you guys got to actually play the game. But when you talk about actually play the game, this is where the controversial change come in. He has a new string that is a 3-hit string. It does have some charge properties, and if the second hit lands, the third hit lands naturally. For his 2-2, you can now go into the sprint afterwards, and for his sprint property, when you take a couple of steps, they didn't say how many, he now get a powered up version of his normal attacks. Here's where the really controversial change comes in. For the Giant Swing and Shining Wizards, these throws are now homing attacks. Twitter is very upset about this, and I will make a future video covering all of it. So just subscribe to the channel because there's going to be a lot more stuff that we need to break down and need to talk about. And this is one of those things that we're going to dig very deep into. What they also said is that when you break a throw, you take chip damage for breaking a throw. You broke a throw, you take chip damage. This change is applied to all characters. Horrible change in my opinion. We'll talk more about that in a future video. For Yoshimitsu, another controversial thing, some players would say not enough was done to him, but for Yoshimitsu, they emphasize that he will have less damage and less health recovery in Season 2. And then also for the Flash, it now has a bigger recovery frames, right? So if he whiffs, you can really punish him now. That's good. He has a new move that is like an overhead that forces you into crouch, and he has a follow-up where he stabs into the ground and he goes into flee. This will increase his mix-up potential. When you talk about the mix-up potential, you have to talk about that new Heat low run animation. A lot of people were thinking about Yoshimitsu's low unblockable, and they emphasized that you will not be able to spam it immediately after. They basically forced a long cooldown period so that you have more than enough time to react. Other than that, that's really all they did. And like I said, that's why players feel like it isn't enough. I'll let you guys decide whether or not that's true or not. Now we're talking about the character Jin Kazama. Jin Kazama, his string, I can't remember the input, but it was like 124 or 123. Basically, it's minus 10 now. They also nerfed the range down 2, and it doesn't launch anymore. Now, one of the new things that he has is basically Devil Jin's flying animation. It's different, but it's basically Devil Jin's fly. And in Heat, it goes into stances. They also gave him a tailspin. I believe it's forward 2 or whatever. Once again, I'll try to show stuff on screen to show you exactly what I'm talking about. But they gave Jin Kazama a tailspin to increase his combo. I was talking to a Devil Jin player who was theorizing that this is what they would do, and he was right on the marker. Also confirmed, Jin Kazama will have at least 2 new moves. At least. There could be more, but 2. Now, when you step away from character balance and you start talking about Season 2 as a whole once more, they showed us the character and season pass for Season 2. You can see that Anna is first, Summer is the next character, a returning character is in Summer, as in Autumn is a returning character, and a final character of Season 2 will be a new character, and that new character will have a stage. The developers have said that the colors that you see here are a hint at which characters it will be. Comment below, who do you think? I think blue is probably Fakamram, purple is Armor King, as in a new character we'll see. On the character specifically, because I guess the Japanese players was talking about that in the chat, they confirmed that Akuma is not considered a returning character. He is still under the classifications of a guest character, and that's out of respect for Capcom, because it is Capcom's character. Even though he featured in Tekken once before, he will never be classified as returning. So this confirms that Akuma will not be a part of Season 2. Now, as for future reveals, they confirmed Evo Japan will be a reveal, and also they hinted that Combo Breaker may be a reveal as well. One thing that they're doing that's really crazy is that they're re-releasing the Season 1 DLC. It now will be in the same format as Season 2, where you will have the stage pass and only the character pass. There's also multiple different versions of the Season 2 pass as well. We will have to see the prices on all of these things to understand whether or not we are being robbed. And what I mean by that is that there's a new deluxe and ultimate edition of the game, and it includes Season 1 and Season 2. So if the price is more expensive than the first deluxe and ultimate edition, it will be fair. But if it's lower price or equal price, that will mean that people who bought the original deluxe and ultimate edition would have paid equal or more and gotten less. I know it's confusing, but I just want to say that because they showed it, we will see the prices of these things once they're revealed. But also the reason why they're doing it is because they're expecting a lot of new people to buy the game, and they want them to be incentivized to buy some of the old DLCs and not feel left out. So they're trying to make it easier to do that. So with that in mind, I would assume that the prices are fair. But that is everything that they talked about in this update. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.